All right, looks like we are live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. So we are just waiting for YouTube to catch up. Mr. Glenn, good evening. Perpetual Wanderer, hello. Toucan Brand, hello. Greg, welcome, welcome. Justin, hello. Terry Johnston, good evening. Jay Colley, how we doing? Looks like everything. Sean Keller, how you doing, bud? So, not seeing anybody from YouTube yet. Still says sending data, so we'll kind of give it a few and see. Let those guys kind of jump in. So Keaton, I'm doing well. How are you doing this evening? So been kind of hectic. Had a couple of lessons tonight. Had a 5:15 and a 6:30. So 6:30 was with Charles, the one that you guys heard me talk about last week. Kind of going out and filling or harvesting his first bull with a bow, so we kind of got a chance to kind of relive that a little bit. So still have not seen anybody from the YouTube side, so if you guys are jumping in, doesn't matter if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, go ahead and say hi. Let us know that you are here. It looks like showing YouTube on. It's connected. We might just not have any viewers on there yet. So we will kind of give it a couple of minutes. Benito, how you doing? So give it a couple more to get going. So tonight we're going to kind of talk about a few different things. So first off, I've had a lot of people ask me lately, what are the calls I choose and why do I choose those? So tonight we're going to kind of talk about the calls that I use, why I use those calls. We're also going to talk about the 2 to 4 mile zone, and of course, as always, answer your guys' questions. All right, we got stuff coming in from YouTube now. Gentry, how you doing? Slinging Sticks, welcome. John, welcome. Mountain Tough, welcome. Scott Schmid, how you doing? Brad Lowry, welcome. Matt Mello, YouTube is good. So, all right, let's jump into it. So, hey everybody, my name is Michael Batiste. I'm with the Elk Calling Academy. If this is your first time here, so Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A usually kind of goes with me starting out with a topic or two and talking about it. And then of course, as we go, feel free to ask questions. So that's what we're here for, is to help you guys shorten that learning curve so that you find success faster out in the elk woods. You know, I've been at this for about 30 years, and I remember when I started, there was nothing out there. It was just all trial and error. So also, if you guys are enjoying the content that you're seeing on these, whether it's the live Q&As or the videos that we post, make sure that you like or follow or subscribe depending on which channel that you're on. But just make sure also that you turn notifications on so that way you're notified every time we do go live or upload a new video. So Justin Marco under the tree, I like it. So Larry Bennett, hello. Kenny Bendable Products, welcome. Jim, hey buddy. Tad Sherman, how big does a deer have to be before it's considered an elk? You know what? It has to be big enough as the eye of the beholder can call it an elk. I think there was a couple of guys from Minnesota that called a llama an elk once when they hunted Montana. So, all right, let's jump into the video. So, calls that I use and why I use these. So now, you know, I am a hunter and I'm also a competition caller. So the calls and the gear that I use for competition is something that's a lot different than when I'm out hunting. So tonight I'm primarily going to be talking about the calls that I use out in the field. And part of this is going to tie into what we talked about last week with hunting elk within wolf country, and you'll kind of understand why I choose some of these different calls. So first off, we're going to start with diaphragm reeds. There's really a couple of diaphragm reeds that I really go to out in the field. And it really depends on where I'm hunting. Is it wolf country or non-wolf country? If I'm in non-wolf country, I look for a reed that has good control, good volume, good transitions. And for me, my favorite on that is the gray amp. I like the control of it. I like Roosevelt just said Phelps amps. So nice timing there. I like that right when I picked up the gray amp. So for me in that context, the gray amp is kind of my go-to, just because for me, I have really good control on that gray amp. I think it has exceptional tones for both cow sounds and bull sounds both. And I have the full control on the bull sounds that I want. So whether I'm doing some light huffs, grunts, and whines, or a full-blown high screamer bugle lip ball that's really challenging that bull, I can do everything I need to on that one reed. So it also hits the high note and the volume really well for reaching out and locating in those areas. So for non-wolf country, the gray amp is my go-to reed when I want volume and that style of calling. Now, in wolf country, I have a whole different approach because I don't want so much of that volume, but I still want good tones. So for me, my choice on that is the Native by Carlton. Either the 1.5 or the 450 were the two that I really used quite a bit last year. Now, we have developed those 3 new reeds together this year, that those are going to be the new reeds that I use from Native. Now, here's one thing, and this is one thing that we've talked about with several people, or I have, and the number one thing that I hear from people is on the Natives, they don't like the tape. So, well, here's what you can do. Now, granted, the Native does have more tape, but you guys can actually take a regular reed and hold it up, and you can see all this excess tape right here. You can take that regular reed, hold it like this, and then take those scissors and trim that little bit of excess tape off. Then the tape on the Native is the exact same size as what you get on the amp or the Rocky Mountain or whatever manufacturer you like. I have talked to Mark and Wayne about possibly changing their tape cutter, so that way the tape will come out in the normal size, more kind of industry size standard on that. So those are kind of my go-to reeds out hunting. Now, the reason I choose the Native and wolf area is, to me, I think they really produce some good, authentic, smoky. What's up, buddy? So I think they really produce some really good natural tones. They still have good control, and you can still do everything that you need to on them. Your cow sounds, your bull vocalizations, your huffs, grunts, and whines, your challenges. You can get everything on that. Now, the one thing, in fact, somebody just said, I'll even cut the amps to fit my palate better. That is the one thing, but if you really look, so I'll start here on Instagram. There's the amp. There's the Native by Carlton. If you actually look at the frame sizes, there's not a huge amount of difference in how wide those frames are. I mean, you're talking 1/8 of an inch at the most. So now, granted, I know that some people do have really narrow palates, and so there are things that they have to do to get those reeds to really fit up there. But as you start moving that reed back in your mouth, your palate widens up. So you can actually go to another manufacturer and get that to fit truly up in the roof of your mouth. Because here's one thing you're going to find too. When you run a reed way forward in your mouth, it's kind of sitting at an angle like this. But as you start to move that back, it starts to flatten out more and lay more flat onto the roof of your mouth. As soon as you change that little angle right there, what happens is the way that your air goes over that latex, it actually vibrates the latex in a different pattern. So if you are running the reed way far forward and you're having a really tough time getting that high note, try sliding that diaphragm reed back a little bit in the roof of your mouth to get it to lay flat, get that different vibration pattern, and see if that helps you to kick up into that high note. Now, granted, I know some people have the gag reflex. As soon as they start moving that thing back, they want to spit it out and throw it out. So, okay. So those are really my two go-to diaphragm reeds. So next year is going to be a little bit different on the natives because we have the 1.5 light and we have the 1.5 heavy. Typically, I'll go more on the light side when hunting just because it takes less air pressure. And sometimes if you're really huffing to get in position, you don't have a lot of air pressure anyways. So I saw a question here on Instagram back a little bit. Let me back up. Roosevelt, what's your thought and take on glunking and your approach on initiating that? Roosevelt, glunking is one of those great tools that I think doesn't get utilized that much. And the cool thing is it's one of those things that we talked about last week, that if you're hunting in an area with a lot of pressure or a lot of predators, especially wolves, things like glunking, because they are a low amplified sound that doesn't travel very far, really does work effectively, because especially in those wolf areas or high predator areas, those bulls really aren't screaming at max volume, or they're getting into the timber when they're bugling and turning the volume down, or they are really going to the glunking, the huffs, grunts, and whines, the raking, these non-high pitched verbal sounds that don't travel as far. And so, yeah, glunking is a great tool. And there's actually two ways that you can do it. One is you can take the palm of your hand and bang it, or if you learn how to do it on a diaphragm, you can glunk that way as well too. So, okay, hopefully that answered your question about the glunking. Again, and sorry, I kind of showed up late, but what animal calls do you make? Elk calls is what we're talking about tonight. So, okay. Tell Ken that I'm loving that product. So, Ken, Mountain Tough is loving the new grunt tube holder. So, GC, Freddie, how you doing? Justin, how do you handle breathing? Do as much prep as you can before the season. I mean, you're still going to get out of breath. The advantage of getting into shape and getting into better conditioning is you're still going to get out of breath, but you're going to recover a lot faster. So, and I Hunt Fit is a program that I work closely with. Really love what those guys are doing, because they have programs that are geared for hunters that you can do either at a gym or at your home. So, Maddie, I'm late. What's up, guys? Okay, I agree with the tape on the Rip It Red. It's not the size, it's the texture. Okay, so let's talk about that tape texture. This is the new Call Armor tape that Native is using. It's resistant to the acids within our saliva. That's why it feels completely different. But you'll also notice that it dries faster. It doesn't suck in the moisture like this athletic tape type. When you first get this, cup it in your hand and blow in there 2, 3, 4 times that hot air, which is going to get that to really soften up and get loose. Then when you put that up in the roof of your mouth, that Call Armor tape is really going to mold to the roof of your mouth, and it's going to actually sit up there a lot better. So, okay, I took practice, but it's been working. Thanks for that, big guy. You bet, Steven. Yeah, I Hunt Fit. Just follow me on Instagram. That's awesome. So, okay, and look at that. Roosevelt just asked about what tube do I find works the best? So that's the next category that we're going to go into. We went diaphragm reeds first. Now we're going to go into tubes. There's primarily really 2 grunt tubes and then kind of a versatile all-around piece that I carry. So The two tubes that I carry are the Unleashed from Phelps, and I do cut the flared end off just because I prefer a smaller end most of the time. But there are those days where the tubes don't cooperate with you or the reeds don't cooperate with you, so you always got to have a backup. Now, the reason I like that Unleashed from Phelps is the expansion that it gives, the volume that it gives, the tonal quality that it gives. It has all that expansion. Now, the second tube that I carry is the Extreme Bully Bowl from Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. So this is when I want that flared end, I'll carry this one. Again, it's a heavier plastic, which doesn't have that tinginess to it. I think you get great, good, clean sounds out of both of these. Now, are either one of these perfect for what I like? No, they're not perfect. They're good fits, but they're not the perfect fit. And really, to me, the perfect fit tube is not available on the market yet. A little foreshadowing for 2019 there. There are some things working on for a couple of new tubes, couple of new options coming out with a couple of companies that I think a lot of people are really, really going to like, because it kind of incorporates or meshes a couple of different style tubes together. But both those tubes, the other thing that I like about those tubes is they give me the flexibility to have the volume if I want and have the depth on the bottom end if I want, but then I can also scale back and sound smaller if I want to on both those. And you do that by controlling the reed and what you add with your voice into that, whether you want to sound big or small. The problem with some of the smaller tubes on the market is they keep you in that medium to smaller range. So if you really get into a stud bull that you really want to really put the pressure on him, you don't have that expansion on the depth or the bottom end to really kind of challenge him. So now, one of the things that I talked about was kind of an all-around type, and you guys have heard me talk about this, and I'm going to talk about it again, is the Game Changer. And the reason I say this is a great all-around is because the Game Changer, a lot of times I'll call through the big end when I'm doing cow vocalizations just to soften up and clean up the cow vocalizations. But then also, if I do want to bugle that doesn't have a ton of expansion or this or that, I have that ability on this. So, but really, for me, the way I'm usually out there using the Game Changer is I'm primarily using this for cow sounds. And that's why I hook it onto this lanyard. So that way I can do my cow sounds, drop it, and it's still hanging there. Because usually I have one of my grunt tubes in my other hand. And then now my right hand is now free because I dropped the Game Changer for me to do some raking. There is quite a bit of activity when I'm back there calling, and a lot of different sounds that I will mix in with that. So, okay. Let's see. Did I miss anything on Instagram? No, we're good there. D2D, welcome. Brent, welcome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is only the second time we've been live on Instagram, so I appreciate all of you guys, tuning in. And if you're joining us late, feel free to go ahead and throw in any questions. So, all right, Scott, I've never had a problem with tape wearing out before the latex does. It kind of varies because some people, as they're walking, they're, chewing on that tape, and that kind of breaks that tape down a little bit. So those are usually the guys that kind of see a request to or see that breaking down. Sorry, I was reading something about a request. So okay, Big Dave's in the house. Welcome, Glenn. I practiced from Sumner to Spokane and back in my semi. Time in the vehicle. That is awesome. So teasing us, killing me smalls. Are you guys talking about the grunt tubes that I'm teasing you about? You guys might have to show up to maybe the Western Hunting Conservation Expo in Salt Lake. You might have something there. Mountain Tough, I only have one tube. Do you recommend carrying at least two tubes in your truck? Do I recommend it? No, it's completely up to you guys. I'm a tube junkie. If there's a new tube that hits the market, I want to try it. Plus, part of what I do with you guys for the gear reviews, I kind of feel responsibility and it's a good excuse to try those tubes. The reason I just, carry the couple of different tubes is just to kind of mix it up and also kind of show love to both of the companies out there. So, I spent 10 plus years with Rocky and the Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls team. And so, I still have, loyalty to that company. But no, it's great to, carry different tubes. So, but really Mountain Tough, if you want to carry two tubes, I would say carry a bigger one and then carry that Game Changer, because that Game Changer is going to act as your smaller tube, but then you have that ability to do the cow sounds on it as well. So, all right, Muley Hunter, not a problem. So I don't know what that is about request. I don't know if that would add you in live or like I said, this is only the second time on Instagram, so we're still trying to figure all that out. So Justin, Facebook, take my money. Glenn, my wife has given me a new tube for Christmas. Very cool. Matt Lux, everyone needs a Game Changer. It is. GC Calls, I would agree with Dr. Batiste. You guys are killing me. So, okay. You'll be getting one after the new year. Throw out a couple of calls on the Game Changer. Okay. So there, that'll kind of show you the Game Changer, both cow sounds and bugles. So I've tried both Rocky and Phelps tubes. Personally, I like the Phelps. Seems to carry a deeper tone than the Rocky. Well, yeah, it has a little bit bigger expansion chamber, so those notes are kind of, they're expanding a little bit more. That's why you kind of have those little bit of differences between those. But yeah, either one will absolutely get the job done. So. All right, Nick, welcome. Yes, the bugle tees. You guys are funny. So, okay, tube junkie. That is very true. Yes, I am a tube junkie. And I will actually take old tubes that I have played around with and Frankenstein them with other tubes to, like I said, I'm on the hunt for that perfect tube. And to me, the perfect tube has the good expansion, the good depth, but it also has flexibility. Meaning it has a flexible portion of it so that, if I have that tube in the new grunt tube holder from Bendable Products and I run that flex tube up underneath here, I can bend and call down, especially if I'm solo. You can route that thing around and be directional with it, which some of those things are really a huge advantage if you're a solo hunter hunting by yourself, which you can do with the rigid wiffle ball bat style. You just have to turn your head and blow to get that directional in. So I was thinking about grabbing an Unleashed from Phelps. I'll pick up the Game Changer soon. Okay. So what calls do you use with external? So, okay, are you talking external reed cow calls or external reed bugles? Because if you're talking external reed bugles, you guys are on point tonight, because that's where we are actually heading to next, is external reed or external reed cow calls. There's primarily two that I really carry. So, one is the Trophy Wife from Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. The reason I like the Trophy Wife is because it's a soft, it's a very soft and subtle that you can have your hand open or cup your hand down to really clear that sound down. Now, if I want a little bigger call that has a little more volume, I'm going to go to the Native by Carlton. This is the Beld. The reason I really like the Native by Carltons on this is because this one comes with 5 different reeds. With those 5 different reeds, I can custom this to the tone that I like, or if I want to change it, they have 2 wide bands, 2 narrow bands. They're both different thicknesses. You can do it with the retainer ring, without the retainer ring. You can do it as a single. You can do it as a double. There's multiple different combinations that you can do on this. So notice it has a little higher pitch than what that trophy wife does. So again, that's why I carry both those, because they're a little bit different pitch, they're a little bit different frequency in it, so it gives me that ability to kind of change it up a little. So now Phelps actually just came out with the new Mini. I'm kind of pretty impressed with this little thing. It kind of falls right in the middle. It still has some softer tones, but it also still gets kind of some of the higher notes as well. So I think it's going to be a great addition to carry with those two out in the field. So, all right, from Instagram. Pure Trophies, actually not Sounds of September. So, not sure. Okay. Let's see. I have to get a GC. People won't see it, and that includes the troopers when I'm driving. There you go. I got my first tube. Is that big wiffle ball bat by Native. I really like it so far. It has the acrylic flared end that you can remove if you want. Yeah. So that's another one in the line of, you know, that wiffle ball bat style, the Native one. The one thing about the Native is that turned mouthpiece, that acrylic mouthpiece, is really, really comfortable. The one thing I didn't like about that tube was how thin the plastic was as compared to these others that have, you know, the thicker walled on them. So I think the thicker walled ones breaks the, you know, knocks down the vibration more, and you get more cleaner sounds out of them. So, but there is a change of coming. So Dave ordered the Game Changer in Verde 2.0. Jay, the cow calls. Okay, perfect. So what we just did. Shout out to you guys from 22 Outdoors. We will be taking disabled veterans on dream hunts. Thank you for teaching elk calling. Helps experienced and new hunters. Mike, that is awesome. Best of luck to you. Anything that you guys can do to support our veterans and disabled veterans, stand behind you guys 100%. So, Jimmy Lee, what's a good reed that has a tight latex? I notice with some of the reeds after a day's worth of use, my latex looks like bacon. Had good luck with the Maverick, but do you have any suggestions? Actually, check out the new Pitch Black series from Phelps. So it's a 3-reed series. I do have a review video of it on my YouTube channel, but it's a number 1, number 2, and number 3. If you're looking for a reed that has tight latex, look at that number 3. I think you're going to really like it. You can throw a lot of pressure on that thing, and man, does it really hit those high notes. Jonathan, stop making it difficult to determine people from actual elk with all this knowledge. Hey, sorry, man. You know what? Like I said, I remember what it was like when I started out. It was a constant struggle. I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have anybody to learn from. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have, you know, any of that. So I'm just trying to share the love and have you guys kind of experience, you know, what it's like to get out there. So, okay. Jay, I have both those calls. Okay, so now that the Unrivaled has been out for a while now, what's your thinking of it now and or its practical application? The big tube is great, but it's kind of cumbersome in the timber, in my opinion. So, Bill, that's a great question. The Unrivaled, Me personally, it's okay. Bryce, my hunting partner, it's the greatest thing since they invented sliced bread. So he loves it. Um, I think it is a good small tube. It does have good tones to it. I just like the tones out of the bigger tubes. And Bill, if you haven't checked out the new grunt tube holder from Bendable Products, you really need to go check it out because that is going to solve that problem of kind of being cumbersome or packing that big tube through the woods. Definitely gonna help that. So, Mike Thompson, Jimmy Lee, I love Phelps calls. Sounds and durability is excellent. So, yes, I noticed that also now that you mention it. Mountain Tough, I taught myself how to bugle. I have really improved after watching your videos. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I'm glad that they're helping. So, okay. Last and final category, external reed bugles. Do I use them? Not very often. I use them for specific things. And usually I will use an external reed bugle for night bugling. Just because on some of those external reed bugles, you can get that ear-piercing high note that travels a long ways. And there's basically two that I will use. One is the power bugle. Power bugle has been around a long time. It has called in a pile of elk. It's easy to use. You have the flexibility to use different bands to kind of change the pitch on it if you want. But the one thing that I did was I actually, remember how I talked about Frankensteining tubes earlier? I took about 7 inches of that power bugle and hot glued it to a bully bowl from Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. So I had that expansion. So I actually use that a good majority of the time when I'm night bugling because, like I said, it hits that high pitch. The other one that really hits the high pitch really well is the Thunder Bugle Pro Magnum from Barry Game Calls. Again, it's an open reed, but you have multiple different reeds that you can put into that, and you can tailor that to what you like, the sound that you like, the one that responds best to you, whether you run it top lip or bottom lip. And that's the other thing that's cool about both the Barry and the Power Bugle is you can run them with either your bottom lip or your top lip. So everybody's a little bit different, just like open reed cow calls. Some people run them with their top lip better. Some people have better control with their bottom lip. It just depends on individuals. So now I have sorry, Scott Schmidt just made a comment that just kind of pulled me off track for a minute. So I have had a lot of people ask me, can you be successful if you can't use a diaphragm reed? If your gag reflex is so bad or you have an allergy to the latex, can you be successful with externals? Absolutely. I have a couple of buddies that they can't use a diaphragm reed to save their life. And in fact, both of them use the power bugles. Have a buddy I went to school with in Montana that uses the Thunder Bugle Pro Magnum, and that guy has killed 3 or 4 bulls. Actually, I think more than that. He's killed a few bulls over the 340, 350 class just from using that Barry Pro Magnum tube. So, same thing with the cow calls. Now, I've had people say, okay, prove it. Go out and only use external reeds. So you might see a day or two this year on camera when I'm out next year in season using only externals. So, okay. So that kind of wraps up kind of the calls that I personally use and why I use those. The one thing with the diaphragm reed is it's really subjective to you guys and how it fits your palate. and how your tongue contacts that reed and how the air flows across it. It's going to be a little bit different for each person. Plus, the thickness of the reed that you like, the stretch on the reed that you like. The one thing I can really tell you guys is try different reeds from different manufacturers that are different thicknesses and different stretches, and really, really find the one that fits your style of calling the best. Now, the one thing that I do really strongly suggest is calling on a reed in a controlled environment in your house is just like shooting your bow in a controlled environment at 80, 90 yards. Yeah, nice controlled environment. You can control that diaphragm reed, you can control that shot. But out hunting, what's going to happen when you're out of breath, when your adrenaline is racing and your heart is pumping? Are you going to be able to execute that shot at 80 yards? Are you going to be able to make the sounds on that reed that you need to? Here's a great test. If you can find a place, and this is gonna answer your question for both of these things. Do some sort of physical activity. Do some 100-yard sprints, this or that. Get winded. Grab your bow. Try to execute that 80-yard shot when you're winded. Or run those sprints, then grab that diaphragm reed. How well can you control that diaphragm reed? How well can you put those sounds out? So I know a lot of guys, or a few guys, that really, really like that good, heavy, stiff reed. But as soon as they get out on the mountain and you've had to run 150 yards to get set up, they're out of breath and they can't hardly make a peep out of that. So that is why I typically will go more towards the lighter type reeds, or the single or a light 1.5 on these reeds for out there hunting. So, okay. I'm surprised you don't carry the collapsible Primos tube. It sounds so realistic. That's what Scott kind of said that kind of threw me off a little bit. So, all right. A couple of other questions, then we'll get into the next part of it. Man, we're rolling along tonight. We're already almost 45 minutes in. Good insight on external bugle for night bugling. It works. It's just something that I've done kind of over the years. So, can we define success when hunting? So, I posted a picture the other day of a quote from Fred Bear, which is a quote that I absolutely love. And it basically says a hunt based solely, or a hunt based only on trophies taken falls far short of what the ultimate goal should be. For me personally, and the guys that we hunt with, first off, the trophy is in the eye of the beholder. So it's hard to take an animal with a bow. So anything that you take with a bow is a trophy. It seems like the kind of landscape today is, and we've all seen these posts of where it starts off, it's not the biggest on the mountain, but, well, if that's really how you feel, why did you take that? For others, and I kind of asked the question when I made that post, do you feel or do you agree with Fred? And kind of the answers came in kind of across the board. Some people were like, sometimes it's nice to hunt trophies. And if that's, what you want to do, that's fine. Other people were like, what, a cow to me is a trophy. So again, the definition of success is in the eye of the beholder. But also the one thing in our group is success in our group is not always a punch tag. It's the journey with the group that I hunt with. It's the camaraderie, it's the friendship, it's the laughter, it's the sights and smells and the sounds of the forest. It's hearing, the forest come alive in the morning. It's the interaction with the animals. It's getting to see the colors of fall. All that stuff to us is part of that journey. And for us, a successful setup with a bull is to where we have called that bull in to 40 yards or less. So that is well within a shooting range. Now, it could be that he stopped behind a tree or he stopped behind a bush and we couldn't get a clear shot at the vitals. But to us, that is a successful setup and a successful hunt. Now, we do have, our fair share of punch tags in camp, and we do have our fair share of shenanigans. No doubt about it. But I think it's all of those things kind of combined together that really define the success for us. So, what you need to do is you need to ask yourself, what is your definition of success? So, all right, Glenn, I called a bull into 40 yes with a thunder bugle. There we go. It works. I think my connection is bad. Broadcast keeps getting interrupted. I haven't seen anything happen on Instagram for a little while. So let me jump over here and see what our stream is. That looks okay. It looks like we're streaming okay. So I know I told the family to stay off. Well, there's a couple of people talking about bad connection. I wonder if it's because I know added in the Instagram thing, and I think that kind of hurts. So, all right, 100% agree with Fred. I'll boldly question, what about the hunt makes it a success, whether or not it's a cow or a big bull? So, no matter what, made it worth it. Okay, memories for sure. Okay, so a lot of you guys are kind of on that same mix. So memories, amen. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I think I'm still trying to find that one program that will allow me to broadcast, bring an Instagram in on the mix. I think that's what's kind of throwing us off and changing. So I hear you and see you, but your lips aren't moving. It's real laggy. Okay. I had a bad connection too. It's just streaming at a lower quality. Okay. Yeah, it is because, we're trying to add the Instagram into the mix. So I apologize for that, guys. I'll keep working on that. So, okay, next subject we're going to go into is what I call the 2 to 4 mile zone, or the 2 to 4 mile corridor. So, and what this refers to is the average person is really only wanting to walk a mile down a trail or a mile behind a closed gate. But then you have the other mix that backcountry hunting is becoming popular, and those guys are wanting to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 miles back in. So what you end up with is you end up with this zone that's that 2 mile to 4 mile mark that nobody's touching. Okay, the average person that's really only wanting to walk a mile is not getting that 2 to 4. And then the backcountry people are just blowing right through that area because their whole intention is going deep. Now, they may kind of, bugle. They may kind of bugle in that 2 to 4 mile range, but you know what? The elk know where that trail is. They know where those sounds are coming from. Now, what's funny within that 2, keep that. Uh-oh, did we get kicked off of our other stream? Wow, it sure looks like we did get kicked off those others. So we may only have Instagram right now, because I keep getting pop-ups saying the stream on the other side. So we might be ending this one early. So, okay. So, anyways, the 2 to 4 zone. That's basically what that 2 to 4 zone really is. So, when you're looking for answer any questions that you guys have. So, as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I apologize for the difficulty with the streaming. I'm not sure what is happening. But anyways, as always, guys, keep calling, keep practicing, but most importantly, have fun. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you at the premiere video Friday night for the Wicked Edge Go. And we will see you guys next week on the next episode of Wapiti Wednesday Live Q&A.